After the checkup and some tests, he called me into his office. I have to ask you some very personal questions, David. They're not easy, but the law requires it. I was confused for a moment. Why would the law have anything to do with this pain? Well, I'm not sure how to tell you this, David, but you have an STD. It's treatable and will go away, but it's an STD nonetheless. His words hit me like a truck. I tried to grasp what he was saying, but the word STD kept echoing in my head. How could this be possible? I'd never cheated on my wife, never even thought about it. Yet, I had an STD. David, are you okay? Hell no. I'm not okay, Doc. How could I have gotten an STD? I've never cheated on my wife. How could this happen? Well, David, some of the questions I'm going to ask are about that. Who have been your sexual partners recently? My wife. She's the only one. I felt sick. My stomach twisted in knots. He quickly shoved a trash can in front of me from the side of his desk, and I threw up. It took me a while to regain my composure. My wife must have given me this STD. The shock hit me hard. Dr. Harris had been our doctor for years and had even delivered our 3 kids. His expression was one of deep sorrow. I'm sorry, David. Usually, I figure that you may have. With your traveling so much, I'm sorry. So, what do I do now, Doc? My wife has obviously been unfaithful. What's the next step? You need to know who her partners have been. You also have to be totally honest with me, David, if you've been with someone else. I told you, Doc, I've never been with another woman. Then we have to assume that your wife gave it to you. You'll need to tell her and have her come in for treatment. Hopefully, it hasn't progressed to a point where it isn't treatable for her. She'll have to tell us who she's been with. And if it's been more than one person, we'll need to know who they are. Why would you have to know that? We'll need to contact everyone she's been with sexually and let them know. They have a right to know. The CDC will require it too. They'll be notified, and an investigator might get involved as well. I sat there, realizing that my straight-laced and proper wife had betrayed me and given me an STD. My marriage. What was going to happen when I got home? What would she say? Why had she stepped out of our marriage? We had been married for 12 years, and our kids were just getting to an age where I thought we could start spending more time together alone. Obviously, she had other plans. I left Dr. Harris' office after he talked to me. He was worried I might do something drastic, but my mind was too numb for that. I went home early, the first time in weeks. When I got there, I found her car gone, and I had the house to myself. The kids were still at school and wouldn't be home for another couple of hours. I sat there, unable to drink the whiskey I desperately wanted because of the antibiotics I was on. I sat in my chair in the living room, numb and silent, going over the last few years with my wife, wondering how and when she had decided to betray me. I wondered if I hadn't been enough for her. My mind was in turmoil. I heard the front door open and her laugh as she walked in. A laugh that stopped when she saw me sitting there. Her boyfriend was right behind her, and he looked like a deer caught in headlights. "Oh, David, what are you doing home in the middle of the day? Tell him that he gave you an STD." I was getting angry. Had she really been seeing someone else in my bed? Had she been so callous as to bring him into our home? I was about to explode. "David, what are you talking about?" "You," I hissed through gritted teeth. "You gave me an STD, and I had to go to the doctor today because I was in so much pain. That person you brought here gave you an STD. You both need to see a doctor right now. How dare you call me a... That's what you are. A deceitful person. You, my supposedly faithful wife, have been seeing someone else, and he gave you an STD, one that I could only have gotten from you since I, your legal and rightful husband, have never cheated on you. Now get out and go to the doctor, both of you." She burst into tears, knowing she had been caught, and now had an STD on top of that. I just collapsed back into my chair. Her lover turned and practically ran to his car. He hadn't known about the STD, and I began to wonder if he had given it to her or if she got it somewhere else. "I'm so sorry, David. I didn't know. It just happened, and I told you. Get out and tell the doctor whom you've been seeing. He needs to know. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your excuses. Just get out and tell the doctor whom you've been seeing. He needs to know." Suddenly, I was exhausted. I just wanted to sleep. I wanted to be alone. She stood there, still crying, but seeing I wasn't going to talk anymore, she finally turned and left. A bit later, I heard their car start and pull out of the driveway. I sat there, my life in shambles. In one morning, in one foul, dark day, I had gone from a happily married man to someone completely broken. My wife had cheated on me. She had given me an STD, 14 years down the drain. I needed that drink, and despite what the doctor said, I made myself a double bourbon. It didn't last long. Neither did the next 4. Later, sitting on our bed, I heard the kids come home. She hadn't shown back up. They came in, and seeing me in my suit, sitting on the bed, half drunk, started to ask questions. "Dad, why are you home so early? Are you okay? You've been drinking." Ava was worried. "Dad, what's wrong?" Ethan was shocked to see me like this. I looked at my 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. Ava, Ethan, and little Mia. "Ava, Ethan, and Mia, look, kids. I caught something that your mother may have passed on to me. She's at the doctor now getting checked out. She'll be home soon. You just go to your homework and whatever. Everything will be okay. It will all work out." Ethan and Mia left the bedroom, relieved to be out of the way. I must have looked a sight to them. They had never seen me drunk before. Ever. I was ashamed of myself at that moment too. I loved my kids with my whole heart and had tried to instill in them right from wrong, and that honesty was paramount in life. I noticed then that Ava was still with me. She had sat down on the bed a bit away from me, but still she sat there. I looked at her, and it took me a moment to realize she was crying. "Ava, honey, what's wrong? It won't be a big deal, just a little bug. I'm sure it will be all right." "No, Dad, it won't. I should have told you last month. I should have told you." She spoke so softly that it took me a bit to understand her words. "What should you have told me, dear?" "About Mom and some guy. I saw them together. I was supposed to be at school, but it was canceled due to the snowstorm. I got home around 10 in the morning, not too long after Mia had left for school. I came in quietly because I wanted to have some time to myself before Mom made me do any chores. I heard her in the guest bedroom, making some noises. I peeked in, and she was there. He was on top of her. She was begging. "Oh God, I'm so sorry, Dad." She broke down and cried hard. I pulled her into my arms and held her, stroking her hair. She had caught her own mother cheating in the guest bedroom. For some strange reason, I was a bit relieved. Perhaps because I had thought about the fact that she had been unfaithful and might have done it in our marriage bed. Now it seemed she had. Ava cried for quite some time, then got up at my urging and went to the bathroom to freshen up. I sat there, wondering what was next. What did I do next? I had only loved one woman in my life, Sophia, and she had betrayed me. What did I do now? Divorce, leave town, kick her out. What? I was empty and alone inside. My best friend and trusted partner in life had stabbed me in the back, leaving me vulnerable and hurting. Ava put together a dinner for everyone. I wasn't hungry, but I sat with them as they ate. Ethan was full of questions, but Ava gave him a look that shut him up. I wasn't ready for any questions. The kids all took off after eating just as they heard my car pull up in the driveway. Ava hung back and, as if reading my mind, reassured me. "Dad, if it comes to a divorce between you and Mom, we want to be with you. She's changed a lot." "Thank you, honey. I'm not sure what's going to happen now, but I'll remember what you told me." Sophia walked into a very quiet house. "David, are you here?" "In the kitchen." She came in with a look of sadness and guilt that I had never seen on her face before. Sitting down across from me at the table, I saw tears running down her face. She was fiddling with the car keys. "So, what did the doctor find out?" I have an STD. I gave it to you." "Oh God. I'm so sorry, David. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't want to hear her lies, her excuses. I didn't want to see or hear her at all right then. I wanted to punch her or perhaps do something more harsh. To prevent myself from doing any of those things, I had to get away from her. Look, it's too late for you to find another place to stay tonight. You can sleep in the guest bedroom. Go get your things and put them in there. I have to go into work tomorrow and make some arrangements for time off. We'll talk some other time." I got up and left the room. I went into my den, my sanctuary. Sitting there at my desk, I broke down and cried like a baby. I heard Sophia moving things around, and soon it grew quiet. I got up and went into the bedroom, seeing the empty closet, empty shelves, and dresser drawers open. Empty as I felt. Empty. My life was empty except for my kids. I had nothing I valued anymore. Sleep was not possible, and in the morning when I got up, I felt like hell. I showered and went into work. I was there before anyone else, and in the quiet of the morning, I made a decision. One that would affect my whole family for a long time. Making a few phone calls, I arranged some things. Later, I managed to get 3 weeks off and left work. At home, Sophia was sitting in the living room alone. I could see she had been crying, red eyes, and used tissues laying on the end table. I stood there, just inside the front door, looking at her. All those years of our lives together flashed in my mind. I wondered what had happened to us. "David, where do we go from here? I know you must hate me. I've not been a good wife lately. I never let them take me in our bed. We never. You really are a piece of work. You couldn't just cheat on me with one guy. You had to do a whole bunch. God, I thought I knew you all this time. Did you ever love me?" "Oh, I'd always loved you, David. The others, I can't explain why. I was lonely. I felt ugly, old. Alex, he was the first. He made me feel alive and beautiful. He treated me like a queen. Then he had me where he wanted me. Not that I complained. And the next thing I knew, there were other men. The more wild it got, the more I loved it. Until now, knowing what I've done to you and the kids." Head in her hands, shoulders shaking hard as she cried. I stood there, still in the entryway, so many mixed emotions crashing inside me. Anger, fear, and even love. Yes, I still loved you even though you had broken my heart. It all happened so fast. I had no choice but to love you, yet I was sure that was going to change very soon. Look, what you did is about the worst thing you could have possibly done. Not just to me, not just to the kids, but to yourself too. I don't understand why, and frankly, I really don't want details either. You cheated on me with more than one man. You got a disease, a sexually transmitted disease. Now you're sorry, but I can't help but think you're sorry that you got caught or got a disease. Not that you cheated on me, just that I caught you. That's not true. I never meant to hurt you, David. I've always loved you above everyone else, always. So much so that you found other men to fill a void that I evidently haven't been filling for you. Sophia, don't be cruel, David. I know I have really messed up things between us. I know that you have every reason to hate me. Is there any hope for us at all now? I still love you so much. I really do. I can't live without you. David, I can't. You love me. Really? You think I'm a fool or something. Take your love and shove it up where you like it. But don't wave your love in my face. Your so-called love gave me an STD. I don't know what kind of love makes a wife share her love with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Is there a Lucas and under too? I love you too. Up until this moment, I'm sure that my love is dead, and by tomorrow morning, I will flush it down the toilet. And no, I don't think I can ever forgive you for this, Once we are divorced, you can get all your love from whoever you want. Oh, David, I don't think I can ever forgive you for this. Once we are divorced, you can get all your love from whoever you want. Oh, David, please don't say that. Please, we can work it out. They'll never cheat on you again. They'll do anything to stay with you, anything at all. Do anything. Really? Then unscrew yourself. Oh, let me guess. You are not a light bulb, can't unscrew. It will never work out between us now. I don't do seconds, and besides, you already had a chance, and you blew it. How can I be sure that you'll never cheat on me again? I never would have thought you would have to begin with, Sophia, yet you did. I could never trust you, at least for a long time. What kind of life would that be for you or me? Always be checking up on you, making sure you weren't out and about with someone. Always have doubts about you and your faithfulness. I can't see us getting past that, Sophia. I thought about it last night and today. For now, you can stay here in the guest bedroom. But if I were you, plan on finding another place to live shortly. No, please, David, one more chance is all I'm asking for, please. She was sobbing hard now, her shoulders shaking as she begged me for that one more chance. I didn't feel anything for her, though. Nothing at all. Screw you. I gave you 12 years, the best 12 years of my life, and you threw them all away for some gratification that I guess I couldn't give you somehow, some excitement that you couldn't get from me. You blew it, Sophia. Not me. You did this to us. So either unscrew yourself or make sure to start packing. Let me explain if I told you it all happened. I don't want to hear your story of how you cheated on me. Somehow you will try to twist it to being my fault, and I will not accept that. I was here for you, loving you completely. Never have I not been here for you. I was traveling a bit in my job, but I still would work things out to be with you as much as I could. You just couldn't live with that, I guess. Other men were what you wanted. Now you can have them. I hope they give you satisfaction. Sophia. We lived together for the next 2 months. During that time, I found out what had started this all, and that was that Sophia had gotten bored with our love life. One day while I was on a trip, she had gone out with one of her single friends. They had gotten picked up in a bar by a couple of guys, and before she knew it, she was waking up naked in bed with her guy. Sophia blamed alcohol and me, the alcohol for loosening her up and causing her to not think straight, and me for being gone too much. The fact was I was hardly out of town overnight, maybe once a month, and usually only for one night. We had a blowout fight over her admission, and things got worse. One night she came home with a date and took him into the guest bedroom where she had been sleeping. I came home to Ava sitting on the porch with her brother and sister in her arms. They had been crying. What's going on, kids? Mom brought a date home, Dad. They're making so much noise we had to come out here. I went inside and kicked in the door to the bedroom. Startled. The guy between her legs was confused for a moment. Sophia looked into my eyes, and then she started to cry. The guy finally got up and began to bluster, threatening me. I grabbed him by the neck and kneed him in his groin. He bent over in pain, and I pulled him forward and shoved him onto the floor. I landed a few more kicks to his groin while he was trying to get up. I kicked him in the face as well. When you get up, get dressed, and get out of my house. If you don't leave within 2 minutes, you will regret it deeply. Sophia started trying to talk to me. David, it's not what you think. Oh, Sophia, my poor innocent loving faithful wife. I am not thinking. Since I am not thinking a lot, why don't you pack your bags? If I start thinking, I would be thinking how to dispose of a body. You have 30 minutes and then you're out of here. It's my fault that I let you stay here. Should have kicked you out that day itself. Our kids are out on the porch for Christ's sake. You were making too much noise for them. You understand that, right? Your kids now know what a deceitful person you are. Now get up and start packing. A few minutes later, she came out of the room with a bag. The kids and I were still on the porch. She came out and tried to take the car and saw that all 4 tires were flat. Call a cab. That car won't move, I said with a smirk. I wonder who did that. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Ava walked up to her and Sofia thought she was coming for a hug. It shocked me when Ava slapped her across the face and Sofia fell to the ground. You are a deceitful person, and worse than a street hooker. You are dead to me. Then she spat on her face. If you think I stopped my daughter or said that it was her mom, and she has done nothing bad to her, you're wrong. All I said was good job. That is my daughter. Now kick her bag on the street. Well, Ava did the same and all of Sofia's clothes were laid out on the street. We went inside, leaving Sofia to figure things out for herself. Our divorce was swift, and there was no fight from Sofia. I ended up with a house and kids. She got a small portion of my retirement, not much, and a third of the savings we had in her car. Other than that, it was straightforward. My lawyer told me I could have done better, but we had spent at least 12 years together, where she had been unfaithful to me, I suppose, and I felt a need to do right by her for that. The kids missed their mother, but they were angry with her for cheating on me too. Ava had seen her, but later I found out that Ethan and Mia had also seen her with other men at different times too. It was hard on us for a while. Sofia was allowed to see them a couple of days a month and a week in the summer. They never wanted to go with her though. Ava would treat Sofia with contempt the whole time. I finally had to get all three of them into counseling, and soon they were better. Not completely healed, but better able to cope. We began to build a new life as a single-parent household. Sofia seemed to fade away eventually, still seeing the kids but never me. I liked it like that since every time she would come into my thoughts, I would feel the pain of her betrayal all over again. 2 years went by fairly quickly. Ava was now 19 and quite a beautiful young lady. Ethan had matured more and was growing up fast. Mia was showing signs of being every bit as beautiful as her older sister. Ava began to talk to me about dating again. Dad, you should find someone to date. The next day, I began to look around at the women in our office building. I had no idea how to go about dating again. I hadn't even flirted in years. Now suddenly, I knew I had to do something to fix that. Ava had been right. I had been wanting someone to fill a gap in my life. Not only the companionship, but that friendship, love, sharing. I missed that. Here I was, almost 40 years old, and having to start dating again after having been out of the loop for all those years. Where to start? What to do? I was lost. Part of the reason I hadn't tried dating was the fear of rejection. I may have been confident in my business relations, but in my personal life, Sofia had taken the wind out of my sails. I felt inadequate and quite shy. One day, I overheard 2 women talking by a copier. Oh, you know, Dan is so attractive but too young. Ted, well, he's a player. Jim, he is so attractive but so cold too, like ice. I'd love to get to know him, but he doesn't have the time of day for any woman. His ex really messed up a good man there. I know what you mean. I wish my husband was half the man Jim is. He's so built and strong-looking. Handsome, too. God, he makes me wish I was single again. I was embarrassed, but kind of proud, too. I had never thought I was a catch. But evidently, some women at least thought I was. I slipped out of the hallway and into my office. Getting home that night, I sat in the den and just nursed a drink. I hadn't done that in a long time. Ava got home from a date later and came in to talk. Dad, I have found the perfect woman for you. She's smart, attractive, beautiful, and best of all, she's successful, rich, and looking too. Ava, I can find my own dates. Yeah, right. Look, Dad, I could arrange for you two to meet. Have dinner. No strings, just a dinner and get to know you date. Please tell me you'll think about it. Well, a beautiful woman or not, you should know that money isn't part of what I'm looking for, Ava. I know that, Dad, but it wouldn't hurt to have an attractive, beautiful woman who also happened to be rich too, you know. I'll tell you what, if I haven't fixed myself up with a date in a month, they'll let you set me up. But only a get-to-know-you date. Okay. A whole month. Oh man, how about a week? You haven't been doing anything anyway. Ava, 1 month, or not at all. Okay, but I'm marking it on the calendar, and on the very day. I'm setting you up. Trust me, Dad, you'll love her. I know I do. I was curious, but also apprehensive. I was not sure I wanted my daughter being a matchmaker for me at all. I also wanted to see and know whom she was talking about. How had she met this woman to have any feelings for her anyway? Later that very next week, I tried to ask out one of the ladies I had overheard at the copier, the single one. My attempt was poorly executed, and I was shot down. I really never had a chance. It must have seemed weird to her when I asked her out too. She gave me a look and backed away. I stepped back, and I must have looked strange too. It was a miserable failure on my part. I almost ran back to my office hoping that she wouldn't go after me for inappropriate behavior or something. It had started out as a nice business discussion that I ruined by just blurting out my desire to take her out to dinner. So the contract will need to be signed and notarized then, Jim. Yes, Clara. 2 copies of it also. Then we'll DHL one of the first party and keep a copy for ourselves. Say, would you go out for dinner with me tonight? 2 copies, what did you say? Did you say dinner tonight? She had stood straight up and backed up a step, a look I couldn't figure out showing on her face. Yeah, I mean if you were free. I'd like to, That's pretty short notice, Jim. I'm not sure about that. She was looking left and right, but not at me. I could see that she was distressed too. What had I done? Oh, that's all right. I understand. I have to run. See you later then, Clara. I turned and fled like a coward. I could see the indecision on her face when she realized I had asked her out. I hadn't thought of the age difference between us either. Here I was, 40 years old, and she was maybe 32. I could tell I had messed up. The rest of the day was awkward too. I just got all tongue-tied and finally avoided her altogether. That night, I sat at home, depressed and quiet. Ava and Ethan tried to cheer me up, but they had no idea what was making me so unhappy. Mia came in and sat beside me for a bit. She had a way of talking to me that would get me to loosen up. For such a young lady, she had the wisdom of the ages. Soon she dragged out of me my failed attempt with Clara. Laughing, both Mia and Ava told me that I had probably misread the whole thing. Dad, you can't just expect a girl to drop everything to go on a date with you, especially when you've never shown any interest in her before. Maybe she had some other plans and couldn't break them. Maybe she had an appointment with a hairdresser or something. She wasn't turning you down, she was just surprised. For such a youthful young lady, you seem to have lots of knowledge about adult things, Mia. Come on, Dad, I'm a girl too. Of knowledge about adult things, Mia. Come on, Dad. I'm a girl too. I'm old enough to date, and I read things too. It isn't rocket science. Yeah, well, maybe it is for me, Mia. I haven't dated anyone in forever. The last time I dated someone, music and dress were way different. Ava laughed and began to tease me. Oh yeah, Dad. Disco was the big thing back then, wasn't it? Disco and platform shoes. Do you still have your polyester leisure suit too? Ava, you know better than that. Hey Dad, how did you walk in those high-heeled shoes anyway? Ethan was smiling, and I could see him thinking too much. Didn't you fall a lot, Dad? You should stay out of this, Ethan. Ava was laughing at her witty remark. They were all laughing at me. They knew I had hated disco with a passion. They also knew that I had never worn anything but Levi's and boots in those days too. I laughed with them, but leaned in and tickled them. It soon degraded into a pillow fight with the couch pillows. It was a fun night for us, the best part being that they got my mind off of my horrendous failure that day. The next day at work was tough. Clara seemed to avoid me, and I felt like I had ruined a good relationship with her. We had always been businesslike with each other, and now I had intruded in her space. I kept to myself and did the paperwork that had been piling up on my desk. That whole week went by with me staying pretty much in my office. The next 2 weeks, I had to travel, something I rarely did anymore. As I packed 2 nights before I left, the kids all came in to talk. I always liked to pack early when I was taking trips like this to make sure I had everything I'd need while away. We talked about this, and that when finally, Ethan spouted off out of the blue. "Hey Dad, while you're in Austin, you should find someone special." His sisters gave him that rolled eyes look, then they began to argue. I stopped them and sat down. I was a bit upset that I had to leave anyway, even though I knew that Ava and Ethan were old enough and even mature enough to manage just fine without me. I trusted them, and they hadn't let me down. I'd never go to someone like that, Ethan. I may be a bit lonely, but I'm not the type to seek that kind of companionship. Besides, having already had an STD once in my life, I don't want to take any chances again. Oh, I never thought about that. I figured that you could get some relief and not have to work so hard at it. Well, thank you for the idea, but no thanks. Dad, have you asked Clara out again? No. Ava, I haven't. I've kind of avoided her. It's embarrassing for both of us now. I may have ruined a good business relationship by doing what I did, and I don't know how to fix it now either. Don't worry about fixing it now either. Don't worry about fixing it, Dad. Just go on. She is probably thinking that you changed your mind and don't want her now. It will drive her nuts. Just be you. It will all work out when you get back. It will have been 1 month. I'm not going to be gone that long, Ava. Only 2 weeks. Yeah, but it will have been 1 month the day you get back. Remember, you promised I get to set you up with her when you get back. I had forgotten about you wanting to set me up on a date with a special woman. I shook my head and then admitted, "Okay, I promised you that, so I'll stand to my word. Just don't expect a lot, okay? It probably won't work out too well. You know, she'll love you, Dad. You're everything the other men she's seen aren't. She's been looking too. I think you two will hit it off real well. I have to wonder why you're working so hard to hook me up with this particular woman. What is she to you, Ava? Why are you pressing so hard to get me together with her? Oh, Dad, I'm just worried about you. I want you to be happy, and I think she could be the one to do that for you. I like her a lot. So, I've noticed. What is so special about her that I should know about? Well, she's intelligent. She has her own business, and she's doing quite well with it. She is built like a... Well, she is very beautiful. She works out a lot too. I know you'd like her. Well, she is very beautiful. She works out a lot too. I know you'd like her, Dad. Maybe even love her. Sounds like your mind is made up anyway. Sometimes a girl has to step up and take charge. Ever since Mom left, you've been so sad. I worried about you all the time. I was afraid you would leave your kids. Oh, you were afraid I would leave your kids. Yes. I should have seen that. I forgot about Rachel's dad. Rachel was one of Ava's best friends. One day, Rachel had come home to an ambulance and cops. Her father had taken his own life over his cheating wife. Rachel's mom had gotten caught with a guy in their marital bed by Rachel's dad, and things had gotten quite close to tragedy. It had happened over a year before my wife had given me her present. Anyway, they had stayed married, but one could see they were not happy at all. Then one day, I guess it had gotten to be too much. He had called in sick to work, and after everyone else had left, took off all his clothes, got on his bed, and swallowed a bunch of pills. He left 2 kids and a wife. The wife seemed to not be upset over it either. In the end, it was hardest on the kids. What a legacy to leave them. They had moved away after the funeral, and Ava lost touch with Rachel shortly after that. Dad, I love you, and I want you to be happy. I think a good woman would help you to get back to being happy like you once were. Okay, Ava, set your date with. What's her name, anyway? Oh well, her name is Isabella. Isabella. She's real nice, about 5'9" tall, and like I said, really well built. She's talked to me about you too. I think she's interested in getting to know you. I think you'll like her, Dad. I really do. Isabella. Ha. Okay, then set up your date for me. We'll find out if you were a good judge of people or not. Ava gave me a smile and hug as she ran out of the room. I could hear her on the phone a few minutes later, laughing and talking to who I guessed was Isabella. After that, it got quiet in the house. All the kids doing their homework and me just relaxing in the den. The next day at work, Clara came into my office, closing the door. David, we need to talk to clear the air. We've been avoiding each other ever since. Well, ever since you asked me out the other day. We have to fix that soon. It's beginning to hurt our business relationship. Ashamed, I knew she was right. I had been avoiding her and that whole thing. Having to talk about a failed dating attempt was not something I had the strength to do. I had embarrassed myself and then let it become a bigger problem instead of trying to fix it with Clara. Look, I know that I shocked you when I asked you out. I never gave you a chance. You had no idea that I was at all interested in you. Then I acted like a big butthead and avoided you. I was afraid of being accused of workplace misconduct. I'm sorry. I should never have asked you out, especially in the manner that I did. The only thing I can say in my defense is being single now, and not having dated in over 17 years, am real. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I was digging myself in deeper and deeper. Clara was just sitting there with a look I couldn't decipher at all, and that look was making me even more nervous. I was usually straightforward with everyone I worked or talked with, and now I felt like a little boy trying to squirm his way out of trouble. David, wait. When you asked me out, I was stunned. You had never even acted like you were at all interested in me that way. Then you got all flustered and left me standing there not knowing what I could have said or done to get past that. Ever since I've avoided you. Of course, I have avoided you too, to be quite honest, because I thought that you were playing some kind of game. You are a very handsome and attractive man. I admire you and the work you do. I would be honored to go out with you on a date. I wanted you to know that. You would go out with me on a date. Really? Laughing in a throaty laugh that caused my spine to tingle, she put her hands over mine. Oh yes, you silly man, I would. But that day you asked me, I was shocked. Like I said before, you had never shown any interest in me at all. It was out of the blue and mid-sentence too. Talking about a contract, then right into asking me out. I should have had a little conversation and a lead-in rather than a blunt question, don't you think? I'm sorry. I never thought. I mean, I did think. I was nervous. You're so beautiful, and nervous? You? Go on. Tell me more about the beautiful part. I like hearing a man call me beautiful. I was beginning to relax finally. I felt the pressure falling off, and that cloud that had been hanging over my head was gone. She would go out with me after all. I felt quite warm and tingly on that news. Then I remembered my daughter making that date for me with, what was her name? Isabella. Oh, damn. Austin ended up being a long trip. The meetings were intense, and the client was trying to get me to offer things that just couldn't be done. I was sure that I had lost this contract by the last day. Then suddenly, out of the blue, the client offered me the full contract and a bit more besides. I guess somehow they had been testing me, or perhaps the company I worked for. Either way, I scored large on this contract, and I was elated. Arriving home, I tossed my bags on the couch as the kids swarmed me for kisses and hugs. Must have gone pretty good, huh? Dad? Did you get someone then? Ethan. I thought I told you that I wouldn't do something like that, didn't I? Oh well, I figured you were just covering yourself. Sorry, we need to have a talk someday. I think you have gotten some strange ideas on things lately. Ethan ran out of the room, avoiding my setting a time for our talk. He was a teenage boy with raging hormones, and probably didn't want to have to sit and listen to me talk about embarrassing things. I was a bit relieved actually, as I really didn't want to have that talk with him either. The first talk we had years ago had been tough enough on both of us. Dad, You're all set up the day after tomorrow at the Harbor Lounge across town." Confused, I just looked at Ava, wondering what in the world she was talking about. Then it dawned on me. Date. Dan. Dad, are you losing your memory now too? Just caught me off guard. Ava, that's all. Well, she wanted to meet you on the first date on her turf. You'll need to wear something nice. They'll help you pick something out. Ava, what if we don't hit it off like you think we will? Are you going to be okay with that? What? Oh yeah, but I'm pretty sure you will like her, Dad. Honest. I know I do. I like her. She's great. Okay. You don't have to hard sell me now. I'm going on the date, but I'm also going to try dating Clara from work too. Ava's face fell a bit when I mentioned Clara. Ava had never met Clara that I knew of, and I wondered if Ava would be able to get past things if my date with Isabella didn't pan out like she was hoping it would. The Harbor Lounge was a highbrow restaurant and lounge. It sat on the dock near a real yacht club, and the rich and famous were always there being seen. That Isabella had picked this place had me worried. I was glad that I had just gotten paid the day before and made a bonus. It looked like this was going to be a 500 meal. Arriving at the door a bit early, the maitre d' seated me as the guest of Miss Isabella Thompson. I hadn't made the reservations, and he seemed quite happy to put me at the table where I would meet her for the first time. The look he gave me while seating me was one of a skeptical type, as if I didn't quite measure up. I was immediately uncomfortable. Dressed in my best suit, I was quite outclassed by almost every other man in the place, waiters included. I knew that this was going to be a date from hell now. I could feel it. I sat there, hoping that maybe Isabella would have changed her mind or maybe even forgotten about our date. My hopes on that being the case rose as the time I waited went on. I sat there for about 20 minutes, then a stir in the crowd sitting in the restaurant, and in walked this woman. I was stunned. A gorgeous blonde in a beautiful and quite attractive dress was sweeping along in front of the maitre d', and every male eye in the place was on this woman. I could only wonder who the lucky person was that she came to eat with such beauty. I hoped that I wasn't drooling, nor that I had my mouth open. As she slid into the seat being held by the maitre d' at my table, she was sitting with me. I was shocked. This beautiful person was my date. Holding her hand out quite daintily, I took it as she introduced herself formally. "You must be David. I'm Isabella. Ava has told me so much about you. You are indeed quite handsome, and just as Ava described you too. I hope I was not too late." No. Actually, I got here a bit too early. I hope that you look as you are." Ava said that I was losing it. I was lost and tongue-tied to the max. I didn't know what to say, how to say it. Nothing. So much for suave and debonair. Drowning, I looked to the maitre d' for some kind of help. He looked at me and had a slight twinkle in his eyes. "Would the gentleman like to order the drinks now?" I looked at Isabella, glanced really, as I could feel my tongue getting tied up again. She was smiling and just sitting there like a cat with a mouse, a look that upset me further. Yes, wine. I think a glass of wine for the lady and myself would be just right. Isabella. Oh yes, he'll have. Well, Samuel, why don't you surprise me? You always do it so well. Yes, ma'am. I will get you the specialty of the house tonight. I think you will love it. Sir. He'll have the specialty of the house as well. Please, Samuel. Yes, sir. My pleasure. I was looking everywhere, but at Isabella now. She sat there as if waiting for me to say something. The problem was, I just didn't know what to say or do. My mind was blank. She was looking at me, then suddenly, as if she had made a decision, allowed me an out. "You know, after our wine comes, perhaps we could go somewhere else. I think we would both be far more comfortable out of this formal dress, and in some casual things, don't you?" Well, I'm not sure where we could go. You are so beautiful. Really, you are. I couldn't help myself. She was beautiful, almost too beautiful. And rich, that was obvious. She had about $1 billion in diamonds on her fingers and wrists. Way out of my class of woman for sure. I felt like a poor pauper being given a treat by visiting royalty. Any man that thinks I'm beautiful, I love listening to. Keep on. I want to hear more of your thoughts, laughing in a soft and attractive way as she looked at me. I just melted. She was being so nice to me. I was acting like a fool, a big dumb country bumpkin. I knew I was blushing profusely too. Well, you are very beautiful. I imagine that every man in here tonight thinks you are the most beautiful woman in the place. I'm making a fool of myself here. I haven't been on a date for over 17 years. Ava told me. She was right on the money about how you would act tonight so far too. I'm sorry. I have kind of set you up just a tad here. I wanted to meet you in a place I was familiar with, and Samuel, the maitre d', is a good friend. He was checking you out when you got here, and as you waited. I apologize for the wait. And for the, checking out. Ava has been pressing me to go out with you for quite some time. And I do love your daughter. She has quite a head on her shoulders. Quite some time. Just how long has she been trying to get us together? Well, since almost a year ago. At first, I was a bit suspicious. A woman in my place has to be cautious. Some have tried to take advantage of me before. But the more I got to know your daughter, well, I hope that she will come to work for me when she gets out of college. She has a great head on her shoulders. I hope that she got it from you too. I mean, not to insinuate. Oh, my wife. I'm over that. I've been for a long time. Just never had the time, or actually the nerve, to start dating again. Dating is intimidating to me. I know what you mean. It is hard meeting a man for the first time, no matter what someone may have said about them. I feel quite guilty too. After all, I put you on the deck as a guarded inspection before showing up. Not a good thing for a date to do, is it? Well, to be quite honest, I usually don't eat in places like this. Not to say it isn't nice, because it is, but I usually just go for the moment pop type of places. I do feel a bit uncomfortable, but this is where the date was made for, so we should probably finish it here. Tell you what, let's drink our wine, then take a little walk on the dock. Maybe something will come along to change our minds. She was trying to ease my nervousness, and doing a good job of it too. I had worked myself up into a tizzy inside, and had a hell of a time calming down. Ava could have given me a bit of a warning. Then maybe she had, and I was the one that didn't know. Isabella was being nice, at least not anything like I had imagined a self-made woman would be like. Our date turned out to be fun. Isabella was very intelligent, and we talked about a variety of subjects. She told me that she had met Ava at a school function. Isabella had been a speaker for a group of Ava's classmates, talking about business and what kinds of education businesses were looking for. Ava had asked Isabella lots of questions, and then after the speech, made arrangements to meet her. They had stayed in contact ever since, building a fairly close relationship with each other. Isabella was a very good person, and someone I could envision being with. I went home with high hopes, my head in the clouds. She was beautiful, and she was interested in me. I walked into the house, and Ava was the only one waiting up. So, Dad, how'd it go? Isn't she beautiful, like I said? And nice too. Yes, she is quite beautiful and very nice. Ava, you were right about her too. She is someone I'd like to get to know quite a bit more. Ava pumped her fist in the air vigorously. Yes. Ava, it's not like it's a contest or anything. I hardly think you should be acting so, well, like you want a competition. But I was right, Dad. You two did hit it off. You like her. That, to me, is winning a big one. It's a real big deal for me. Her fist pumping up and down was quite comical to watch, so I let her have her fun. I was mildly embarrassed to know that I was the reason. Rather, my date was the reason. Did you kiss her? Did she kiss you? No, we didn't kiss. It was a first date. After all, you know. No kissing at all. Dan, you sound disappointed. Oh, no kissing at all. Dan, You sound disappointed, Ava. It was just our first date. Sometimes people don't kiss on first dates, you know. I had hoped that you'd be all over each other. Let's just say that I really would love to take her out again. In fact, I made a date with her for next Sunday. A picnic. I also told her I was dating Clara. Or rather, I was planning on taking Clara out at least once too. She seemed okay with that. She told me she appreciated my honesty at least. Oh, Dad, you shouldn't have told her that. Besides, if you are as interested in Isabella as you say, why not just cancel your date with Clara and plan on pursuing Isabella anyway? I'm in no real hurry to pursue anyone, Ava. This dating thing could take a long time, and I may go through a lot of women in the process. I want to be certain, as I can be, that the next person I ask to marry me, should it come to that, is someone I can. I lost my train of thought as I reminded myself of my ex. I could feel that pain. Softer now, but still there nonetheless. Trust, Dad. Someone you can trust, unlike Mom. Yes, I had gotten quiet. I spoke so quietly, I hardly heard it. Ava stepped up into my arms and hugged me tightly. I could feel hot tears on my cheeks. You'd have thought after several years I'd have gotten over my cheating ex-wife. Evidently, I still had some issues. When we broke apart, I saw that Ava had been crying too. That made me feel a little better inside, knowing my pain wasn't starkly alone. I hated that I had this pain inside to begin with, and I hated that my children should suffer this pain with me too. At the same time, it was good for me to know that my children loved me in spite of all that had happened. I'm sorry, Dad. I guess I forgot how much Mom's cheating had hurt you. I thought you were all over it now. I guess not. Don't be sorry, Ava. You have gone a long way in helping me get over it all. You and your brother and sister too. It is time for me to get on with my life. Obviously, your mother did a long time ago. Over the next few months, I dated either Isabella or Clara constantly. With Clara, the relationship had gone full bore, something I hadn't counted on. Isabella and I, however, were growing together slowly. She was setting the pace at what she thought best for her, and I was very willing to allow that. One night, about my fourth date with Clara, we were kissing goodnight at the door of her place, getting hotter as we went. She soon invited me inside. We had done this the other times too, so I wasn't expecting more than a warm makeout session, and then going home, something I had gotten used to. I was very aroused, but I also wasn't sure I was ready to go there with another woman yet. On our last date, Clara was kissing me, and before I could react, she stopped. I think she was afraid of going there too, or so I thought at the time. Anyway, we went inside and kissed some more. Clara said she wanted to get a bit more comfortable, so she headed off to her bedroom. I sat on the couch in her living room and waited patiently for her to come back and continue our makeout session. Part of the reason I loved to make out with Clara was it took me back to my college days, I suppose, making me feel far younger than how old I actually was. The other part was she was a great kisser too. When Clara walked out of her bedroom, my back was to her. I didn't see her until she stepped around the couch and slipped onto my lap. I was stunned, to say the least. She had taken off all her clothes. She kissed me, putting her arms around my neck and holding me tight. We started to be intimate. Oh, wait. I'm not wearing a condom. Do you have a disease, David? No, but the responsible thing to do was to satisfy the person that you had all worked up. I'm clean. So are you. I am also on the pill, David. So there's no pregnancy thing to worry about. If I had thought that you could have a disease, I'd never have let you go as far as this went. How did you know I was clean, Clara? I hadn't been tested in over a year, and you wouldn't have access to those test results anyway. David, don't you remember when the doctor's office called work and told you that you were clean? I do. Only because you accidentally hit the conference button on the phone, and that much got out before you managed to get it off again. That was recently. And I happen to know that you've only been with me since then. Well, there is that other woman. But I know you haven't been in a close relationship with her. How do you know that, Clara? Ava told me. Ava? Yeah. She mentioned that she wished that you and Isabella. Is it? Anyway, she told me she wished you and Isabella would go to the next step in your relationship. I asked her what she meant by that, and she then told me that you two hadn't gotten close at all yet. That's when I knew I had to work hard to develop a closer relationship before she did. But I don't understand. I have wanted to have you forever, David. I finally had you where we could be together. And then everything started to get messed up. Of course, I pushed hard. I had to. I wanted to spend time with you at least one time. Just once. Even if we don't work out for the long term, I had to spend time with you one time at least. I'm hoping now that you may want some more special time with me too. I mean, I'd love to be able to love you again. Lots. Okay, but what if we don't work out, Clara? Oh, David. Honey, I never wanted to have a get-married relationship with you. I just wanted to have a good relationship for a while. Something to tide me over until I meet Mr. Right. I take it that I'm not Mr. Right then. Honey, you are the best man I've ever had. You are a great kisser too. But you and me, we're just close friends. That's all. If you have found someone to love, and someone you want to spend the rest of your life with, by all means, jump on it. I won't be hurt. They'll miss you, yes, but I won't be hurt. Clara, I don't know what to say. I mean, you are beautiful, and someone I care about deeply. You love me. Is that it? Well, no, not love as in wanting to spend the rest of my life with, but as a friend. Good Lord, I was afraid that you had fallen for me there for a second. You and me, we're just close friends, that's all. If you and Isabella have a chance at being happy together as a couple, then you should let me go and pursue her. She's a keeper, honey. I can see it in your eyes anyway. That obvious, was it? Oh, sweetie, I hope that one day I can find someone like you for a lover and a husband. I'm probably making a huge mistake in my life right now by not having gone after you for husband material. But I also know that you don't feel towards me what you feel towards Isabella. That's all right, though. It'll be fine. We'll be fine. Isabella is the one that has your heart, and you need to dedicate yourself to her now. You'll be okay. I feel like crap about this. Don't. It was just a relationship for us. Isabella is the real deal. Go for it. We parted that night with a bittersweet kiss. Clara was a wonderful person, and you'll never forget her either. She had been serious about the close friends thing all along, and I had gotten worried that she might have decided she wanted more from me. I was glad and lucky that she hadn't. I had the road open now. I was free, or at least I felt free, to pursue Isabella full-time now. It's been 2 years since that fateful night. Clara and I still work together quite well. As a matter of fact, I was promoted up the food chain, and in the process, I brought Clara up too, as she is very deserving of those promotions. Even if we had not been close friends, I would have offered her the promotions that came along. She is a very smart person, and very good at her job too. Clara met a man she feels she loves in that way, and they are planning on setting a date. She told me that she wants me to give the bride away since her father passed away some time ago. I accept it. She appears to be very happy, and I can only hope that her marriage is all that she dreams. Isabella and I, well, we married about a year ago. Ava and Mia were bridesmaids, and Ethan was my best man. Isabella is everything that I have ever wanted in a wife. I'm lucky to have managed to fall in love with her, and even luckier that she fell in love with me. Ava is in college and doing quite well. She's going for her MBA. Ethan is about to graduate, and soon he too will be off to college. Maya is a junior, and I can see that she is much like her older sister in many ways. Isabella and the kids have gotten along splendidly, and are all close to each other. I couldn't have hoped or prayed for a better ending than this. As for my ex, apparently, my wish did come true. She became the town bicycle, and got more health issues. Ava told me that Sofia has been admitted to the hospital due to complications with an STD. I laughed when I heard that, and so did Ava. My ex will likely not be around much longer. Good riddance. I have to run now. My wife, Isabella, is calling to me. Seems that we have a date at the Harbor Lounge. Ava and her boyfriend will be meeting us there for dinner. Sounds like a serious dinner too. Knowing how Ava is, perhaps someone is going to ask the big question, or maybe permission to ask the question. He seems like a nice young man. I hope that they can wait until after college to get married, but if they are truly in love, I suppose it really won't matter in the end when they get married, as long as they are happy ever after. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.